P.J. Scott here with Veterans Forum, and I'm just really delighted today because I have a wonderful group of Pearl Harbor survivors. Yeah, they were there December 7th, 41. Tell us your name.
Jorgen Tweiten.
And our other gentleman is Walter Nelson.
Right.
And what ship were you on?
I was
Maryland.
Okay, you were on the Maryland?
Yeah.
I was aboard the Rigel.
Tell us where you were born and how you came to get to the point where you signed up.
I was born in Sirdal, Norway, and I came over to this country when I was 8 years old and settled in Tacoma. On the 26th of February for 41, I joined the Navy.
Okay, now before we get into your early naval career, let's get Walter into this. Walter, where were you born and raised before you put your hand up to go on Uncle Sam's Navy?
I was born in a little farming community, a small town in Nebraska, Holstein. I was just a short distance from Hastings, and it was a little larger town. And at that time, there wasn't much else to do. Jobs were just pretty hard to find, and I didn't like that. I worked on the farm for several summers, shocking wheat and that sort of stuff, but I didn't particularly care for that. And there wasn't much pay, and so I don't know, there were a couple other fellows that had joined the Navy previously. Of course, you sit around and listen to their stories, and you think, gee, that don't sound too bad.
Did you later discover those stories were wildly exaggerated?
No, I enjoyed the Navy,
Good.
really. I joined up for 6 years. And
now, what day and year did you go in, Walter?
I went in September 18th, 1940.
I went to boot camp in San Diego.
Now, are you in this mass of folks there?
Yes, I am. I'm in this group right here. I don't know exactly where I'm at, but and then this next one here is when I graduated from boot camp and went into a radio school.
Oh, okay.
And I was
Is that what you wanted to do?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, great.
And this picture here is of that group right there.
The Radioman School folks?
Yes. This picture here is when I was a boot, and this here was much later when I was aboard the ship. I was first class at the time. Well, when I went in, I requested any battleship in the fleet, and I was lucky I didn't get it. So
what was a battleship?
A battleship.
You didn't want a battleship.
I wanted a battleship,
okay.
but I didn't get it. And after seeing what happened at Pearl, I was real happy that I wasn't on board the battleship.
I went to Great Lakes, Illinois.
Oh, my son went there, yes. And you went in September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made the mistake of showing up in February and got pneumonia, so pretty cold in the winter time up there at Great Lakes.
Really, that water or wind coming in off the lake was just
go right through you.
Freezing, yeah.
Now, where did you get any kind of special training school after boot camp?
No, I didn't.
So you were just a swabby and they put you to work?
Yeah, well, there was about 800 of us that were only in boot camp for just a short time. And they sent us all out to Bremerton, and we were all stationed on the Maryland.
Oh, okay. Now that's an interesting fact for a local. The Maryland was home ported in Bremerton?
Yeah, it was in dry dock at the time.
Oh, I see. So, Jorgen, where was your ship home ported?
Well, when I graduated from radio school, I was sent back to the Hull, the USS Hull. It was a destroyer 350, and it took me to Pearl Harbor. And aboard the Hull, I was only aboard just on the crossing over, and went aboard the Rigel, and stayed there for a couple of months, and then we went into Navy Yard we had to replace the engines on the ship and general repair, and the Radio Shack was also updated so no one was in the Radio Shack.
I think the first worry I had about war was we were coming into Pearl Harbor on the battleship Maryland, and a submarine started surfacing right alongside of us, and it was a Japanese submarine.
Yeah, that make me a little nervous there, Walter.
And well, it made everybody pretty nervous. And, but that was the first inkling we had that there was even...
And do you remember the date, about what time frame did that happen?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember really, but I know it wasn't too long before Pearl Harbor.
On the 7th, I had the midnight watch for the radios. Well, I'd gotten off midnight watch and had eaten breakfast, and since the midnight watches were allowed to go to sleep, you know, so I was ready climbing in my bunk, and this is about a little before 8 o'clock, and then one of the guys said, gee, I hear something out there, and so I looked out through the porthole, and there I saw 4 Japanese planes coming, or 4 planes. I didn't know they were Japanese at the time, and they were shooting right at us, and all 4 of them were just shooting. And
do you want to share what your thoughts were at the time?
I can't really think of what, except we were just so stunned. We were watching, and we didn't know what they were. And we thought maybe they might be Army. And they sounded general quarters. And so I ran back to up the ladder, and I had no fear until I saw some blood running down the ladder. And that kind of went through me.
I would imagine so.
And as I was running back, there was our commander. He was on shore, and he came on board, and he slipped coming up the ladder, and as he slipped, there were some bullets that went right in front of him. Now, if he hadn't fallen, he'd have been at least shot.
So is that a case of where someone's guardian angel stick their foot out and tripped you?
Yeah, that's
sounds
what it
like
was.
it.
And so I ran back to the Radio Shack, and as soon as I got back there, they handed me some messages, and I was to give these messages to the captain and to the Commodore. The captain said, I don't want anybody else to see these messages. So the next trip I made, along comes the captain, and he grabs them and he signs them, and the Commodore said to me, he says, you know, this is war.
Obviously.
And he says, you want to get shot? And I said, no, sir. And I went back to the Radio Shack, and I told the radio officer, and so he sent 2 of us out, one for the captain and one for the Commodore, and I still had the Commodore. But as the day progressed, I could see that a plane had dropped a torpedo. And
well, I was going to ask you, did your ship get hit?
Yes, we did. We didn't get hit directly, but we got missed by a 500-pound bomb that lifted the fantail out of the water. Okay.
Walter?
Yeah.
Where were you and what were you doing when you knew the Japanese were attacking?
Well, my cleaning station was at the very top of the mast on the battleship.
And you were on the Maryland?
Yeah, and I was just going up the ladder to go up to the cleaning station. That was a good place to sleep if you weren't working. And I saw this Japanese plane come over. And
you were able to immediately identify that it was a Japanese airplane?
I did, yeah, because I saw the rising sun.
Okay, whereas he saw it straight on, you were able to see it kind of, okay, all right.
And I swear to this day he was close enough that I could see the pilot's eyes.
Really?
We came right over and they started bombing and strafing and stuff like that. So about that time they sounded general quarters in my battle station. I was in the fire control gang, and my battle station was several decks below. And so I went on down to my battle station, and we had control of the gosh, you know, I don't even remember the size of the big guns,
Right.
20-inch or whatever they were. Well, those were the good old days, really. And anyway, I went back to my battle station, and we controlled the main battery, and of course there wasn't anything to shoot those big guns at.
But you did have training as a gunner's mate?
No, I didn't. All we did was the people up on top of the mast, they had range finders and stuff like that, and they would find out where the battleships, other battleships were, and how far away they were, and send us directions. They radioed them down to us so we could notify the gun crews.
Now, did the Maryland get hit?
Just one little bomb hit on the forecastle. It just didn't get hurt at all.
Did you lose any men?
Not that I know of.
What about on the Rigel? Did the Rigel lose any men?
We lost everybody on topside that day, or forward of the main, and we lost everyone on topside, and that's where the blood came running down the ladder.
Did you lose some friends?
I didn't have many friends on board because I just came on board. So the only people I really knew were in the radio shack. But I did see, as I was on topside most of the time, I saw the Oklahoma get hit and roll over, and then about 8-10 minutes later, the Arizona went up, and it was quite devastating to see that whole row of battleships getting hit. And
I was going to say, the battleships were tied up, two together, and then two behind that, and then another two, and
So it made for kind of easy pickings, didn't it?
well, yeah, and I was on the Maryland, and the Oklahoma was tied up on the water side of us. And so they took all the torpedoes that they fired at us, and they turned over in just a matter of minutes. But the bottom of the ship stuck out of the water.
So you were blocked, basically.
So, yeah, they couldn't get any torpedoes into us.
Well, I'm so glad you both survived that terrible day, the day that will live in infamy, that famous speech that the then President FDR Roosevelt said. And I want to thank both of you gentlemen for serving our country and doing a fine job doing it. God bless you both, and thank you for being on Veterans Forum.
Thank you.